Hi everyone, I'm Stefan Lin,
And I'm Alex Yip.
and this is the 20s Grind podcast. And today we're going to be talking about why time management is important. And first, I really wanted to start off by kind of consolidating all these other, themes and topics that we've had in previous podcasts. And I think it's really important to really think about time management as the tool that you use so that you can adjust your present and flow through that future that you framed so that you're ultimately able to hit the goal that you want. And of course, there's going to be some variability. Your goals will change. The future's, unpredictable. But I think it's important that you need to be able to negotiate with yourself with what you want, in the sense that you should be able to bargain and basically have an internal conversation with yourself and ask yourself, is this worth my time? Is this being spent well? I think there was a study, or maybe it might be hyperbole. I might be remembering wrong, but I think on average, a person's 1 hour of your time equates to $50, of what a
Really?
human can do. Yeah,
That's what it's
weird.
supposed to
I'm
be?
not sure if
Is
that's
that the
hyperbole.
benchmark?
Please don't quote me on
Okay.
that. But I'm just saying, whatever you think your time is worth. If it's $50,
This is
$30,
US dollars.
whatever. Yeah, but
All right,
it's
keep going.
but it's just, you need to be able to ask yourself, is what I'm doing for the next hour worth that money, or is it worth that much value? Because if it's not, then you're wasting your time. You should be doing something else. A lot of people tend to stray away from making a plan or having even attempting time management, because they think that, oh well, we live in, I don't know if you've ever heard this phrase, Alex, VUCA world. I heard it in my
No.
business classes.
What-
So
what's
it's
VUCA?
I'm sorry?
What is that?
It's VUCA, and it's I think it started with from the military, but it stands for a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. So
That's
it's right.
bad in business world. Everything that
Yeah.
you just said is pretty much bad. Uncertainty is bad, but you can trade on uncertainty. But keep going.
It's very difficult, right? Because as humans, we like certainty. We like to be
Yeah.
able to know this, then this. But I think that's part of the elegance of life, is that things are uncertain, because they could be really bad, or they could also be really good. You don't know what kind of surprise you're going to get. But that kind of idea is definitely something that everyone's reflected on. And I think that off of that, a lot of people have had the wrong notion, or the extreme notion, that, hey, if my future is going to be so unpredictable, like the morning of 9/11, who saw that coming, right? If something so tragic like that could happen any day at any second, then why do I even need to make a plan? Because my plan is just going to be completely useless when this new obstacle comes up. That's okay, fine. That's fair. That's a fair point, sure. But it just means that you have to be able to adapt, and you have to be able to change whatever plan you have in mind. So just because the future is a little bit unpredictable, it doesn't mean that you should completely throw away the practice of making a plan of managing your time.
Yeah,
Because-
it's like you're gonna die anyways. So why live
Yeah,
a
and
life?
I mean that
know?
doesn't even have to do within the realm of time management. Some people just have that mentality, and they just suffer because they think that there's no meaning, there's no goal for them to achieve towards.
Yeah.
Right? It's ultimately you're trying to find a goal or a future where you're better off in the future, so that all the suffering that you've had and all the commitment and the sacrifice, we've talked about these things, and all of that makes it worth it. You need to know that even if your plan is not executed 100%, let's say you have a random new assignment and everything else gets pushed back 2 hours, even if you don't follow the plan that you made prior, it doesn't mean that the practice of time management is useless. Even if you hit 50% of what you wanted to do, that's still 50% better than zero, when you just don't make a plan and things just fly in your face.
Yeah, I agree.
So, and we've emphasized this before, and a lot of people, I think there's been a lot of stress with individuality, which is great, but then it's kind of gone a little bit overboard, to the point where people are afraid of routine, right? They think routine restricts them. It's a prison, and it just impedes their ability to be an individual. But I think it's when you drive from I don't know, if you're living at home and you drive to work, or you walk to work, or you bike to work, or school, or wherever you're going, right? After a while, you don't really remember the trip there. It's so muscle memory that you honestly daydream when you drive. And it's first off, really doesn't sound safe, but it's just that you go on autopilot mode,
Yeah,
right?
it's not good.
But that autopilot is the result of routine, which is what you want. Because that's, if you imagine your brain as like a computer, right? then your CPU of your brain, your processing power of your brain is, because you have that muscle memory, you're not spending time thinking like, oh, I need to turn left here and then I need to turn right here, because you've done it so many times that you don't need to think about it.
Yeah, you're just like a machine.
It saves you energy and it saves you brain power for other things. So routine is good in that sense that it allows you to execute things without spending too much brain power.
But if you become that machine on and on, then that poses problems as well.
Exactly. So it's a balance. You know, it's a balance. I'm saying you have to find what you're comfortable with, and or you have to be conscious to not completely disavow the concept of planning for the future, but you also have to be wary of not being so restricted and sucked into this routine of doing something you don't want to do.
Especially that, because doing that's a lose.
That
on a macro
just takes a toll. It just tears your soul. Like, you can't do that, and that's not living. That's just suffering. So time management is definitely a very invaluable tool, especially since it's what you use so that you aim to increase your quality of life tomorrow. And I actually
I like how you said that. Tomorrow, not today, but tomorrow.
Yeah, that's something that I looked into, and there's like a few people who, like, I watched a few lectures on time management because my time management was horrendous. I used to like not plan anything, like 20 minutes before, and then
you were go with the flow.
Yeah, I was go with the flow. Okay, not gonna lie, I also did miss an exam by accident because I just never went to class, and then I had to.
You just didn't know.
I didn't know.
You didn't know what you don't know.
My friends were like, "Hey, how did you think about the exam?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And it's like, "The exam today," and I was like, "What class are you in? Your class?"
Oh my goodness.
So, and it was the last exam of the semester, so it was too late for me to drop out of the class, and I was So
tell me you talked to the professor though.
I begged the professor, and I was like, "Look,
all right,
please let me take this. Give me another exam. Give me a harder exam. I don't care."
And see, not being in the present costed you time and energy. You see?
Yeah.
You get that?
Just, please plan. Like, don't. That's
no,
why.
Really, it hits on the two previous podcasts we had. Like, being present, right? Not you. You clearly weren't present, as you admitted. You didn't go to the class, and that costed you time and energy, because you have to follow up with the professor and beg him or her to let you take the exam.
Yeah, completely avoidable. It was stupid anxiety that I inflicted on myself. That didn't need to happen if I had like just a little bit of mindfulness of when the exams were. So planning, time management, it's so crucial. And the key thing that I learned after that incident, I really looked into time management and how to like restructure my life. And one interesting thing I saw on I think it was a TED Talk, was that you shouldn't be planning your, like, in the morning when you wake up and you make your plan for the day, you shouldn't be planning so that it's like, how can I make my day the best it could possibly be, which is half the problem, right? What they say is you want to be able to plan even further than that. You want to be able to say, how can I plan my day today so that tomorrow I save time? So it's the things that you're putting off today, like, oh, I don't want to wash these dishes. Like, now, if I eat something, I wash the dish the same day. I don't let it sit. I don't, like, if it can be done in 2 minutes, just do it now. Mm-hmm. And that's just the general rule that I have. And if you don't have if you think, no, man, 2 minutes is too long, and I can't make it out the door, and I can't catch my train in time, then you don't have a 2-minute cushion in your schedule, then that just means you have a bad schedule. You're not, then that schedule is too exact to the point where any kind of, like we said, any volatile, uncertain, complex, or ambiguous thing that pops up is going to completely derail your time management. It's going to completely derail your plan for the day. So
that's why there's a lot of people who push for two things: automation saves time, and also outsourcing saves time. A lot of very successful people will outsource the really mundane routine activities, like such as getting to work. You get in a car, right? You get in an Uber and they drive you to work while you can catch up on your emails while you're in the car on your phone. Or you get someone to do your dry cleaning for you, saves you time, So, like, Stefan, your time management routine, like, how, okay, so we know time management is important, and hopefully, like what Stefan said, kind of really shed some light and enlightened a lot of the podcast listeners right now about why time management is important. So we got that nailed in. But what if you're one of those people, Stefan, that is, they're the go with the flow kind of people, and their life so far, in their opinion, has been pretty good, right? You don't know what you don't know, and we're pitching only one side of it. So for those podcast listeners, Stefan, what do you have to say about like making a schedule, even if you have you have no schedule?
I think if you have no schedule, that just means you have no direction at all. Like you're just kind of floating there. At the very minimum, you have to like kind of know what you want, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if like people, I have friends who are.
So at the end of the day, sorry, go.
No, they just infuriate me because like I think I plan things pretty late, and like let's say I want to go to a party, then parties usually would start at 10 on the weekends. I'll figure my plans out by like 6. But I know people who wait till like 9:50 and then they text me like, "Hey, what's going on tonight?" And I'm like, "Jesus, man!" It's so last minute. And it's
I know. Yeah, I get the feel.
It baffles me, and I'm just like, how do you?
Even for partying, you gotta have a plan, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's just how I am. And again, this might be a personality difference. I feel the people that are, I think I read somewhere that people who procrastinate a lot tend to either have things work out for them because they're very proficient in a certain thing. So like let's say people who don't study for an exam, they procrastinate until the last night because they know or they have been used to the practice of, I'll just study it the last 6 hours, or I'll just pull an all-nighter and I'll just learn all the material one day, and they're smart enough to be able to do that. And then if that works for you, then okay, well, I guess you're passing.
Kudos
by,
to
right?
you, yeah. Kudos to you.
I guess you're passing by, but like that's not really. I mean, in terms of like the neurological sense, if you're studying with like 6 hours, like if you pull all nighter, you're not actually retaining the information. You're kind of cramming for the next day, but you actually forget it. So you're actually not learning anything. You're actually not becoming a more developed person.
Yeah,
that's my take on it anyway.
Yeah, I think that having a plan. So I think that some of the podcast listeners, they're gonna think, if you're living life like by every minute and every day, you really are just, a free spirit. That's okay, right? You can do you. Some of my friends are like that, and they tell me that, Alex, living life like the way I do is better because I have less things to worry about, and I am overall in a better like, I have a better well-being. You know what I mean? They say things like that. And I think that mentality is a little dangerous because, for me, right? This is for me. It's dangerous for me because I think that if I live like that, in the short term, I think I would have, yes, I'd agree with them. I'd have a greater well-being. However, on the macro, 80 years old, Alex will not be happy with that kind of lifestyle that he lived, because I wouldn't be so fulfilled knowing that I just lived every day blissfully and carefree, just waited for things to happen, instead of me like seizing the day, having little small tasks that I want to do every day, right? Every night before I go to sleep, I have this whiteboard. I wish I could show you guys, but it's a podcast. Like, I have this whiteboard that I write down 1 to 5 things I want to accomplish the next day, and right when I wake up, I see those things after I meditate, and I just get right to it. And that, to me, those little small wins, they're really small and like almost insignificant. Like one of them is like, make sure you cook chicken today instead of like going out to eat. Like that's those small victories that help you kind of build your track towards, a greater, bigger success. And this like kind of helps you track my time too, because like, okay, what did I do yesterday? Okay, I did those 5 things yesterday. All right, cool. I did that in one day, and that builds towards everything else that you're planning down your path. And I think that I agree with you. If you really don't have a goal in mind, or you don't have a direction, it's really hard to plan out your day, because what are you going to do? Yeah. Like, what are you going to do? Since you don't have a direction, you're not going to take these XYZ steps. It's not very calculated.
So I think what you said is really interesting, because I recently actually learned about this, and it's that there's actually 2 different kinds of reward systems in our brain, and one of them is, I think it's like consuming. I might be a little bit wrong with like the jargon, but it's the type of satisfaction you get from like eating really good food, right? Or drinking or smoking, or like sense-based. But there's another type, and then this other type is also related to
Talking about dopamine?
yeah. So this other type of satisfaction is I think it's like it's like an incentive pathway, and it goes through your dopaminergic, and actually goes through the nucleus accumbens, which is the same area of your brain that cocaine targets. So this area is actually like it lights up when you have your like you said, small things that were small little goals that you achieve while you're working towards a larger goal. And like I didn't realize like there's like that's like science part of it, but like how I approach it is I always separated happiness from contentment. And I always said happiness is kind of like when you're in the party and you're having a great time, you know, you might be a little drunk, you're surrounded by your friends, it's all great. But I think contentment is like what you said, like if you set a goal for yourself, right? Like let's say you want to be a doctor, well then that means that you got all A's in high school, and then it's the slow win, you know, it's the slow climb, you know, like you get an A here, you ace your orgo exam, you take the MCATs and you kick its ass, and then you get into like I don't know Harvard Medical School, like you know, it's the
small things matter
that build you up. Yeah, exactly. But the thing about that, and what's really interesting is those little incentivized, like what I call fulfillment, like the path to fulfillment, those things are also like it's in the same area that cocaine hits. So it's literally a positive addiction in your brain. It's like setting yourself on a goal and slowly achieving towards it. Like you won't want to stop. Once you catch momentum, you won't want to stop.
It's addictive, right?
And I think that's like exactly what you hit on, is that the little things, even though you might not think they're like huge, they really do add up and really kind of they put you in momentum, man. I mean, I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah, and I know you've been doing that. I want to really know about your time management thing, but before we do, I want to really ask you about that because I think that the podcast listeners would really love to see like you're doing this crazy little experiment for yourself. For me though, I don't have I don't have that extreme of an approach. For me, it's like, I whatever time it, because since I'm not really employed right now, I'm fun employed. Basically, I wake up somewhere around like 8:30 is the early like I guess you want to say like lower bound, and then 11 is the upper bound. And whatever time I wake up, I always achieve those 1 to 5 things that I wrote down the day before. Always. And by always I mean if it takes until 12 o'clock at night to do it, 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm gonna do it, you know. But I think that your approach, you know, you wake up early, and I really want, because you guys have to hear what Stefan has to say, because Stefan's approach is very, very, very
I don't think everyone
extreme.
Can do it.
I know.
I'm not even confident that I can do it.
I know. It's early on in your. I think you should tell everyone your progress so far. I mean, my routine is kind of. It's not really set and like fortified yet, and solidified as an idea. I mean, because I'm still working on it. But yours is extreme, and I think everyone should hear about it.
So my schedule now, which is I think a little bit crazy, is I typically sleep anywhere between 1.5 to 3 hours a day, but like it's sometimes it's like 3 to 6 hours a day.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay. So, but the weird thing is, I wake up and I'm actually like refreshed, and I think the reason for that is because I love my life right now, and it's because I don't want to be asleep. I want to be awake because I really want to like do my day.
Oh, that's the
and
best.
I think if you can find that kind of fire, then you'll sleep less. You don't need 10, 12 hours. You know, maybe even like 6 to 8 hours. You know, it's just whatever your body can handle. I'm not saying everyone should be doing this crazy experiment that I'm doing because it's, you know, questionably.
Are you tired though?
I'm not tired. I do not feel tired at all.
Oh,
like it used to be in college and high school, I would have to take a nap, but I don't have to do that anymore. I literally wake up. So
I took a nap today. I woke up so today I actually woke up at 9, right? And I was doing work until about 12:30. But you know what? Now that I think back, it was after I had a pretty decent like rice involved lunch, so it was kind of heavy on the heavy side, and I took a nap afterwards for half an hour, and I woke up after that.
So just to very quickly summarize what my day is like, so I usually wake up at anywhere between 5:26. I don't know why I set that number, but it's just a number I set randomly, and I was like, cool, I'm going with it. So either 5:26 to 6 o'clock, I usually wake up, and then I'm trying to go out and like get a run in, but usually I just stretch and like what you said, kind of mentally prepare myself for the day. I think about I have an honest internal conversation with myself. I think about what I want out of the day. I think about what I want out of tomorrow, what I want out of the next week.
Yes.
Exactly
Beautiful.
what we were talking about. And then I usually, I shower, I put on, I just get ready for work. I have like an hour commute. I go to, while I'm on my hour commute, I stopped listening to music. That's another thing that it kind of relates back to the time management. I started reading more, or I started listening to podcasts more, because the time that I'm sitting on the train and I'm listening to I don't know, EDM music, I could be learning something, right? And it doesn't necessarily have to be something relevant towards your field. It could be literally anything that you find interesting. And I think that's something that is the baby step, right? Is to, well, let's spend time on things that we want to spend time on first. So yeah. I listen to podcasts, and then I go to work.
And you come home.
It's this 9-to-5 job. Sometimes I stay later. I usually come back, and then I try to make it back here by 6:30ish, sometimes 7. And then we usually podcast if we can. If not, then I'm usually doing chores. I'm cleaning my room.
So you're fully utilized. I love that. It's
yeah,
and
perfect again,
economy.
On the commute back, same thing. On the commute back, I'm listening to a podcast, or I'm reading on my tablet. I don't want to waste a single second. And
yeah,
sometimes it's hard. It's hard to read. I had no idea. I'm not that good at reading, and sometimes after 30 minutes I just sit there and I look back and I'm like, what did I just read? I have no idea what any of this meant.
Oh my gosh. So and it feels does it feel like you wasted your time when that happens?
No, because I know I'm going to get better at it.
Oh my goodness. You know what I just experienced a while back? So
what?
Obviously I've had this ever since I graduated from NYU, I had this 6 month, I had 6 months of basically free time. It was my last summer before I started full time, and I spent a whole it felt like a whole week, but it was actually only maybe 72 hours, where I was just thinking of an idea that I wanted to really execute on, but nothing came up. In 72 full hours I spent. It wasn't 8 hours in a day, and then I woke up the next day, 8 hours in a day, woke up the next day, 8 hours in a day. That's 3 days, 72 hours. No, it was a full 72 hours, and I felt absolutely horrible, because I looked back and I was like, what did I have to show for it? And I was really sad in finding that out, because I just wasted so much time. But I realized that the time didn't get it wasn't wasted at all. It was actually utilized towards something that you really want. And that's when you get that self-awareness that we're talking about. Because if you spend that 72 hours thinking about that idea you really want to execute on, or you and your friend are doing that, or you and your friend are brainstorming an idea, 72 hours goes by and nothing happens, and you look back and you think that you wasted your time, that's when you know you're not in the right lane and you got to switch. And that's efficient time management, because you're realizing that this is not something you want to do. If you gave up after 72 hours, then clearly it's something you don't want to do or pursue or execute on, right? And then that's when you know it's time to switch over to something else or keep thinking. Yeah, I think that's very valuable information for podcast listeners, right? You don't want to do something you don't want to do, right? And after 72 hours, if you realize oh, damn, I couldn't come up with a single idea that it could bring value for other people, or an idea that I really love and genuinely, authentically enjoy doing, then think of something else. That's all I have to say. And you'll save ungodly amounts of time just in that 72 hours because you won't be doing something you don't want to do.
Yeah, you won't be, you wouldn't have realized that you didn't want to do it unless you spent those 72 hours. So it's, even though you feel I think that might tie back to the whole millennial feel of I should have realized this within the second hour. It's hard. To actually have a conversation with yourself takes time. And I think that's something a lot of people underestimate.
It's self-awareness. We keep talking about self-awareness. We need to have a self-awareness podcast one day, dude.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, okay, so just to, because we are kind of going a little longer than I would like, but just to end, so after I get home, I usually podcast with you or whatever, and then sometime usually around 8 I usually go to jiu-jitsu, or I go to a concert, like a classical music concert. They have them free here, so I love it. It's a passion, so I don't think it's a wasteful thing to spend my time on. Come back, I cook my meal for the next day and everything, and I usually listen to podcasts until like, I don't know, 1 or 2, maybe 3 in the morning, because I'm just like that. So I mean, in totality, I'll probably end up listening probably close to like 9 hours of podcasts a day, which is a lot.
Holy smokes, that's a lot of consuming.
So I'm like consuming a lot of content, which is like, and this is, again, like, I don't recommend this for people, but this is like the momentum that I've like fallen into, and I love it. Like like I love it, because I kind of lose track of days. I'm like, no, I definitely learned it like a week ago. It's like, oh no, that was this morning. Wow. Like I like, so much has happened.
Yeah.
And it's stuff that I want to learn about, and I love it. I think that's the trick to minimizing your sleep, is that if you can find a way to see your life in a way that you want to be awake more than you want to be asleep, you know?
Yes.
It's kind of like if you're going on
Love
vacation,
that.
if you're going on vacation and you have a flight at 5 a.m., you're not going to sleep. You're probably going to sleep like maybe like you'll be so excited that you stay up till 3.
Exactly.
And then you fall asleep for half an hour and you wake up, oh, I got to go to the airport.
You don't
Oh,
wanna be
we're going to
sleeping.
like, you know, like... So
It's like that cliche thing that people say, like, I'd rather be alive because I'm living my dream in like the daytime or reality. It's like making your dreams a reality so you don't have to go to sleep and dream it.
Yeah. Let's end it on that.
That's good. All right.
Perfect. Okay. Well, again, thanks everyone for listening. We really appreciate the love and support. Again, if you have any like topics that maybe we might not think of that you would want to ask us,
Comments.
Yeah, exactly.
Feedback.
Comments, contact us. There's, you know, and we'll take a look at it. We'll take an honest look at it. And again, you know, we're only just 20. Are you 22? We're both 22.
Yeah, we're 22 now.
Yeah, we're both 22-year-olds who are just in the thick of it with you. So, I mean, just stay with us and we'll just grind through this decade.
We got you.
I've never seen them like this before. You can't disguise